there's a big difference between being capable and healthy for an October game and a playoff game. In other words, being medically cleared doesn't tell you the whole story. I mean, come on, we've seen it a million times in the NFL. A guy will gut it out for a must-win game when he wouldn't have for a normal game. That's obvious. So obviously he was cleared to play for that playoff game. Jerome Bettis, when he got shot up before the game, was it the Patriots or the Ravens? I can't remember, a long time ago. He ain't playing in November, even against the Ravens, with that injury. He went out and played because it was a playoff game. Do you treat this with a playoff mentality? If TJ Watt's at 75% and cleared, he's cleared to play, he's at 75% with a risk of further injury, I think you're crazy to play him. Tomlin's talking about we don't even think about the future. Early in the season we would, because we're thinking about those games later in the season. Okay, so now you're late in the season. Why aren't you thinking about the playoff? How can you not think about the playoffs right now? How can that not be at the forefront of your mind, especially if you're Mike Tomlin? And you've had years ruined by injury. Whether it was TJ Watt or Ryan Shazier or Le'Veon twice or Le'Veon and AB in Denver or Marquise Pouncey in the Super Bowl, whatever it was. So maybe it all is very clean and it'll be obvious that TJ and George can go out there with no risk of re-injuring themselves on those specific injuries. And you go in with a clean conscience, everything's fine. They'd be playing if this was October against the Jets, and they're playing now. But, man, there's a lot of layers to it. It's just not that simple. Hey, if they're cleared, they play. We got to win a division. There's a big, big difference between a guy getting cleared to play and knowing you could risk further injury to, hey, it's must win. We got to get him out there for a playoff game. We got to get him out there for a playoff game. There's a big difference between 75% with a risk of injury and this guy's ready to go. And even if we were playing anybody else at any time in the year, he'd be ready to go. I'm erring on the side of caution. I'm not treating this like a playoff game because I know even if I lose, I can come back and beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs feels like a bigger game to me. If you beat the Chiefs and the Bengals, you win the division. And I understand the mentality of going all in for this one. But I said it before this 3-game gauntlet, and I'll say it now. The main priority coming out of it is healthy for the playoffs. That is still my main goal. At this point, you're probably only going to get one playoff game at home anyway. That's the way I'm treating it, and none of us will ever know, how it's evaluated behind closed doors with the doctors, with the coaches, with Omar and Art.